So, you've said it's quieter. You said maybe not as much group activity work. Some of the events and things that you might normally have had are different. What else feels maybe different this year, and what feels exactly the same and you can hardly tell that COVID's a thing at all?
For me, inherently, it's a bit more stressful, because when you want to be involved in your activities and things, but they're just well, you're restricted to maybe this one activity, or you're restricted to maybe only doing this part because of COVID. And I'm in speech and debate, and when you perform, you can't really wear a mask because you need to be able to see your facial expressions. So they switched it to online, which is just as difficult, and so it's really stressful.
I found it really hard to be able to do anything with a lot of my clubs, and just participating is a lot harder. And this year, I know I had a ton of stuff that was planned last spring, and it all got canceled. Stuff that I was looking forward to, girls' state, and stuff that all my friends have been hey, this is what we really enjoyed about senior year, and then it's all getting canceled. But I don't know. I mean, you have to you have to know that there's going to be some compromises, and I feel being able to be in school kind of makes up for part of it.
Yeah, that's good.
It's scary though, especially with your activities. This past summer I was supposed to go to New Mexico for nationals, for the speech and debate nationals, and that plus the fact that everything's just kind of different now, and the freshman participation has also kind of dwindled, and it's harder to get those people involved because you don't necessarily want to start something when virtual and online, because everything's virtual and online.
Yeah.
Can I just say, being at a school that is mainly based around project-based learning, because that's our curriculum, it's been a huge change from last year. So what we used to do in the past for group work, at least, is because we have to do group work in every single classroom, is what we do is we have our group, right? And then we would do this thing called a campfire, where we would huddle around one person, and then we would talk about all of our ideas, what we're thinking about, at least for the whole project, and that kind of thing. And this year it's really, really different because obviously we can't do that anymore. And now we have these dividers dividing us between the tables. So it's a little harder to communicate. But that might be just because it's a project-based learning school, because in project-based learning school, you're constantly talking to your group members and all that kind of stuff. So at least from last year to this year, there's been a huge difference in where we're limited to what we can do as far as group work, but we are still finding a way to get it done, at least.
Kind of the real world right now. You're working on problem-based learning when you have a problem that you have to work around. And people in the workplace right now are kind of having those same challenges. So it feels strange, but probably pretty practical application. Are any of you band or chorus?
I am.
Nick, how does that feel this year with trying to stay apart while you're trying to be together to actually do the activity?
It's definitely different because you're trying to blend with everyone else in your section. I'm in choir, so you have to try and get the right tone. It's hard because everyone else is 10 feet away.
Yeah.
You're only really hearing yourself.
Yeah, and performances just don't feel the same, right? You're right. When you're doing something that typically has an audience, and then when you have that same audience, it feels kind of odd. I think our athletes, people in fine arts, everybody's kind of experiencing that. Mabel, what does it feel like in middle school for some of the things that you're involved in? Where does it feel different?
Football's going on right now, but when winter comes around, I play basketball. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know, because the football people, really over here, nobody really comes to watch the games. Right?
I will come and watch your game.
Yeah, so basketball, I don't know, because for the volleyball people, parents and stuff were only coming to see the games and things, so I don't know how sports and stuff like that are going.
Yeah, it feels different when we have to space people out in the crowd and only certain numbers can come. So what else have you found to be just the same this year, or what feels good about being back in school? Because last March, everybody went home and everybody was working remotely. Does it feel better being back? Do you kind of miss the remote? What feels good about kind of how we've done things this fall? Mabel, you were shaking your head.
I did miss school a lot because like the instructions in like Schoology, we never used Schoology before. It was like we always used ClassLink last year, and this year when they're like, oh no, we're going into online learning and you guys are gonna use your Chromebooks every day, I was like, what? So when school started again, it was like very exciting. Even the masks and stuff, like it's worth it.
That's good. What else, Avery?
I know last year one of the confusing things was trying to figure out all the different platforms, because a lot of my teachers had platforms that were specific to whatever class I was taking. And so like my pre-calc, I'd see what I had to do on Google Classroom, but then I have to reroute to a completely different thing, and I had password, and I know that was kind of frustrating to like remember that I had to check all these different websites. So it's really nice now to be able to be in the classroom and like focused on kind of, they like check up on us and be like, hey, this like worksheet's due, and it's not all in completely different spaces. And I also know last year, like taking AP tests online, that was super confusing and was kind of just like a lot to relearn, I guess. And this year, a lot of my teachers who are teaching AP classes, they've like realized what they could cut out of the AP test if they went remote again. And so they're teaching it from like a more like a way that will be beneficial for all students, even if we do go remote, because I know they cut some chapters. So this year they're like redoing a lot of the way they're teaching, which is really smart and like helpful for us students.
That's good to hear. Yeah, that was one of the things, is just we wanted to streamline kind of access. So that's good to hear that happened in your real life as a student.